Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining this live stream. This is the first stream live that I'm doing on this channel, so let me know in the comments if the audio is okay, if you can hear me clearly. Let me know in the comments. Today is just going to be a hangout. We're just going to hang out and talk video, talk improving our YouTube videos, talk improving our editing skills, and trying to figure out how Davinci Resolve works. And I'll give you guys a basic rundown of the software. So let me know in the comments. Hey, Paul, thank you for joining. Thank you. Long time no see. All right. Awesome. I can tell me my audio is okay. So, all right. We're going to get started soon. Give it a few minutes for people to join, and then we can quickly get started. We're just going to hang out, chat, look at ways and means with which we can improve the quality of our videos. Share with you guys a few things that I do to improve both my audio as well as my video footage before I post them on YouTube. And for those of you looking for a good software to use for editing, we're going to do a quick introduction to Davinci Resolve, and then we can get started from there. Okay, so for the first time in a couple of months, pardon me, a few months ago, I started looking out for alternatives to my editing software, and for the most time since I started editing, I've been using Premiere Pro. But after a while, it gets a lot because Premiere Pro is basically you need to pay for it. That subscription model that Adobe has going, and you have to keep paying. So maybe about 5-6 months ago, I set out to find an alternative that may be cheaper, but also be able to give me all the stuff that I wanted to do in Premiere Pro. And the most viable option for me at that point was Davinci Resolve. And so I set out to investigate Davinci Resolve and to see how well it works and if it can be a substitute for Adobe Premiere Pro. And for the most part of it, it's been working really awesome for me. I've been using it for both client work as well as for my own personal YouTube stuff. So basically, we're going to go through this and we're going to start out, and I'm going to share with you my thoughts so far. And then you can also make the decision for yourself if this is something that can help you in your workflow to improve your video. As we go on, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment and we can take a look as well. Hey, you're welcome, Glenn. Awesome. Thank you for joining the live chat. Awesome. So as I was saying, I've been using Premiere Pro for basically ever since I started video, and I've been looking to see alternatives. And my alternative right now would be Davinci Resolve. I've been using it for a while. I am by no means an expert at this point, but that's the whole point. As you learn, you share, right? So that's what I want to do today. I want to share with you guys what I have learned so far, and also we go through basic setup that you can do to improve your audio. Whether you're using a cell phone or you're using a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, there are a few key things that you need to take care of to make your video quality great. One of them is to learn how to focus, right? So you don't want to be talking and your focus is in and out, right? So but nowadays most cameras have really good focus, autofocus, and they do the job for you as much as possible. They do a great job, but you want to make sure that the focus is on you all the time, and whatever the subject it is that you're shooting. One way to do that is to improve your lighting situation. Now, when I talk about lighting, I'm not talking about going out and buying huge lights to set up everywhere. You may have only one light, one piece of light, but you can use that one light to improve your production in a dramatic way. When I first started, I was using just this one light here, just one small tiny aperture light. And what I will used to do with this light is that I set it up on high. This is battery powered. So this light, if you look at most of my earlier videos, was the main light that was lighting me. It was just this one light. I have it set up somewhere like that, pointing at me. And then I also probably had this little clamp here. This is just what we call the magic arm. So I use the magic arm to attach this to anything. You can just open this clamp here and have this light on it, attach that to anything, and then you can actually properly direct the light towards you. The key thing to having good lighting is not the amount of light you have, but how well you diffuse that light. So this light came with a little tiny diffuser in the front of it, which helps to make the light softer, but it doesn't really help that much. So what I used to do was have what we call a reflector. So the 5-in-1 basic reflector that is maybe $10 on Amazon, and I shoot this light into it, and it bounces back in and gives me a bigger source of light, making the light looks nicer on me. And you can do basic small stuff like that to improve your YouTube videos. So it's not about setting up huge lights like this Godos XL60 that I have here, but you can start off small, and as your channel grows, as you improve your video quality, you can add on little bits and pieces here. One thing that people also always forget is that no matter how good your video quality is, if your audio sucks, it's going to turn people off, right? So even if you're recording from your cell phone, there is a few audio tricks and tips that you can do to improve the quality of the audio that is coming out of your camera. One thing that I did earlier on was to invest in the Rode Video Micro. It's like a $60 microphone that you can use with both DSLRs as well as your mirrorless or even your cell phones, and that tiny microphone will improve the quality of your audio to the next level. So if you're using a cell phone especially, and you're recording the audio directly on your cell phone, you're going to notice that there is a lot of noise from the backgrounds and from everywhere that can impact, and the quality of that audio may not sound that great. So having a small tiny microphone that you can plug onto the camera's jack and record audio that way will bring your audio quality up a notch, thereby improving the quality of your YouTube uploads. So if we take a look back, we've talked about lighting. You can use basic cheap lightings. It doesn't even matter. You can use some of your home-based lightings. At some point, if you see down here, I have this little lamp hiding there. At some point, I used to light my videos with this home lamp, right? And it's not about the gear that you're using. It's about how you are using it. So this $10 lamp that I bought from Value Village or somewhere could light and bring up my video quality a lot more, because it's sitting right next to me, out of frame, and then bringing in the kind of light and exposure on my face, right? So as you can see in this shot right now, there are a couple of lights that I'm using. I'm using Godos light inside a softbox with a grid on it, and the whole point of the grid is to cut down the light hitting the background so that there is a little bit of a separation between me and the background. And then right up above there, let's see if I can tilt this camera up a bit. Right up there, you can see I have one of these little lights that we just talked about pointed up there that is coming towards me from the back, and its own whole job is to try to give me a little bit of a rim light around my back and my head here. And and that's giving just a little tiny kind of rim light, not too much, but a little bit, just to make the video, you know, pop a little bit and give a little bit of separation between myself and the background. The other thing you can tell is my microphone. Right now, this microphone is positioned right here, few inches away, but right out of frame, right? So that it doesn't show in my video, but it's there. So if you can see right here, I'm touching it and I can barely move it out just a little bit, and it's hidden, but it gives a better quality audio because the distance between my mouth and the microphone is basically just this much, right? So the closer your mic is to your mouth, the better the sound that you can get out of it. Those are very quick tips that you can use to improve the quality of your videos. So first, try to get a little bit of lighting depending on where you are, but even if you're using a cell phone, the key thing I would say is look for a good light to start with. All right. You can spend $10, $15 on Amazon and get some basic lights that will still get the job done properly. All right, so now we've talked about improving your shooting scenario. So you can shoot basically with these tips. Having a microphone, doesn't matter how cheap it is, as long as you're not using the onboard microphone, you're bound to get something better out of that. You can also look at a lavalier mic that will clip onto you, and you can use it that way. You can also look at the microphone and microphone placement, very important in improving your videos. And also, now that we've done how to shoot and make sure you shoot properly, let's jump quickly into Davinci Resolve and we can take a look at the basics stuff of what we do with Davinci, what I do in Davinci Resolve. All right. So right now, if you look on my screen here, this is Davinci Resolve, and I have just launched Davinci Resolve. And once you launch Davinci Resolve, you're going to be greeted with this welcome page. This is basically on your left-hand side, you have what we call databases. These databases, it's a little bit different from Premiere Pro, because Premiere Pro, you are just creating your timelines or your project and you're saving that project onto your computer. Premiere uses a different sort of method where it says a database, and inside that database you can have projects. So based on the location of your database, you can see what we have disks here. So what I've done is I usually keep my database on an external drive because I like to edit off an external drive, because most of the time, sometimes I carry my edits with me, so I can plug it into my laptop and I edit right away and I keep going. So I keep my current projects that I'm working on or I'm editing on a flash drive or USB external USB hard drive, a USB-C fast drive, and I carry that with me everywhere, and that hosts my database. So that's why I call it my mobile database. So with that mobile database, inside that database, you can create what we call projects. So all these projects belongs to this database, and you can create multiple databases as you deem fit. So if I see this other one, this is a different drive, it is not connected. And so you see that yellow exclamation mark is just telling me that Resolve cannot find that database at this point. That's because that database is on a separate solid state drive that is external, that is right now not connected. Same with this one too. This is my local database. This is by the default one that is created by Premiere, and this one is housed on my hard drive that is internal to this computer. So that's good. I'm going to go to my mobile database since that's connected. And here is your projects window. So all these projects belong to that database. You can have your projects organized in folders. So I can create a new folder, and let's say I can call this client work. And I can select some of these projects here, right? And just drag them into client's work just to organize the folders a little bit. I can also create one and say, maybe say my YouTube videos. Right, and then I can probably just grab these and just add them in there. Okay, that's fine. Let me put this one in here, put that one in there. Right, put this one in there. And as you can see, I have Untitled Project, and I have Client Work, and I have YouTube. And you can create as many folders as you want to organize your work that way. Now, with that said, you can also come in here and click this button to create a new project, or you can click on this Untitled Project to start a new Untitled Project. So if you go this way, then you get to name your project at the beginning, or you go this way and you can then save your project when you name it. So let's create a project the proper way. So let's create a project, and then you give your project a name. Let's say live stream 1, just for this stream. Or let's just call it getting started with Davinci. With Resolve. So there we go. That's the project name. Create. So once you create that project, now you're now greeted with your project window. And before we get started, I want to go through the interface so you can understand what is happening here at various stages of this, so you understand and know how to operate. So this is your Resolve interface, right? Down here you have your toolbox. You have your effects tabs, everything down here. If you go up here, you have your menus down here. Now, at the bottom here, which is very important key thing to note. Oh, I got a transition, sorry. So you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, perfect. Sorry guys, kind of got carried away and didn't switch to the right window. So I'm here, we switched to the right window now, and this is what we have at this point. So we're on the screen where we just created a new project. We named the project Getting Started with Resolve. And then we're taking a look at the interface. So let's start from the bottom here. The bottom here, you have what we call the pages or the tabs. So you have the media page or the media tab. You have the edit tab. You have the fusion tab, the color tab, Fairlight, and deliver. When you first install Davinci, you're probably going to see another one here that says, I forgot what the name is, but let me just reset my interface because I have hidden some of these. Oh, the cut page. So you're going to see the cut page, and this is what the cut page looks like. So this is the pages that you have. You have the media page, you have the cut page, you have the edit page, you have fusion, you have the color, you have Fairlight, and you have deliver. Now in Premiere, if you're using Premiere, you were used to editing your video and lay down your structures in Premiere. And then if you want to do any sort of advanced effects and stuff like that, you're gonna have to take that video into After Effects to do those effects, and then you bring them back into maybe Audition to work on your audio. In Davinci Resolve, on the other hand, everything is in one space, in one spot, and in one window, right? So your same timeline that you will work on in your cut or your edit page, you can take that timeline and take it to the fusion page, which is basically Premiere's version of, for lack of a better word, After Effects. And then you can take it from there to your color tab, where you do all your color grading, similar to exactly what you would do in Lumetri Color. And then you go to Fairlight, which is basically for all your audio works. So Fairlight will be for all your audio stuff that you want to do. And then you can go to your deliver page when you are done to kind of export out all the video that you have worked on. So let's go to the media page, and we're gonna start off from here. So in the media page, you see on the left corner here, you have all these drives. These are all hard drives and folders that I have on my computer. They will all show up here. So if you don't want to import your footage, everything into it, and you have your files in a particular path, you can browse to that path and work from it and drag it into your media pool here. On the other hand, the easiest way that I have seen is to organize my folders outside, and then once I'm done, I can just drag, let's say these are the footage and the pictures I want to bring in. I can drag them and drop it into the media tab right here. Right. So that's how you basically import video and any other media into Resolve. Right. So I'm going to delete all of these for now. We will come back to importing. But before we do importing, I want us to take a look at some of the project settings. So if you look at the bottom corner here, you have your project settings. And this determines what settings you're going to be using for your project. So as you can see, for this project right now, by default, our timeline resolution is set to 1920 by 1080, which is 1080p HD. If you want to edit in 4K, then you can come in down here and then you can edit your timeline to a 4K timeline. And you also have your frame rate. So the timeline frame rate, I always edit at 23.97 or 24. You can leave it at 24, doesn't matter. For those of you in Europe and stuff, you may want to edit in 30 frames timeline, or you can do a 60 frame timeline, but I always stick to my 24 frames timeline. I may shoot footage in 120p or even 60 frame rates, but I will edit them on a 24 frame timeline. So that's the settings. Always make sure that these settings match what you intend to do before you start adding media to your project. So that is your project settings. Keep in mind, it's very important you set it, because once you add media, you won't be able to change your project frame rate anymore. All right, let's move on to the next one. So now that that is out of the way, I'm going to bring in the media that we just had. I'm going to import it back. I'm going to drag this whole folder, drag it in here. And as you can see, it brought in the folder, and inside that folder we have this footage in there. Now the cool thing about bringing in the whole folder into the master bin like that is that you can organize your folder structure and bring it in so that you know what footage belongs to what. For example, sometimes I shoot weddings with multiple cameras. So if I'm shooting with 2 or more cameras, I want to, at the end of the day, make sure that I have my footage organized in such a way that I know which footage belongs to which camera, right? And that's what I do. And I bring the footage in here with a proper labeled in folders so I can keep track of what is what. Now that we've brought in our footage, and by the way, this is not the only way you can bring in footage. If you go to the cut tab, you can still bring in footage and drag and drop into your bin. However, I personally do not work with the cut tab. The cut tab was just introduced recently into Davinci, and it's okay, it's good, it's meant to be able to help you speed up your workflow, but from my experience, it's not the way I want to work, because I want to be able to have full access to some of the features, all the features as we go. And on this cut tab, you're missing some of the basic stuff that you would need to make some basic adjustments. So I go straight to the edit page. Both the edit page and the cut tab do basically almost the same thing, right? So there's no need going to the cut tab or to the edit page if you're used to it. So if you're coming from something like Premiere Pro, the edit page will make more sense to you than the cut page, right? So that's what it is. I'm just gonna stick with the edit page for this video so we can do some quick edits, and let's see what happens. Okay, so here we go. We've brought in our footage, and now we want to start editing. So the first thing to do is create a timeline. So your timeline, you can just drag any of these footage that you have in here. And once you drop that footage, it will automatically create a timeline. And this is going to create that timeline based on the project settings that we just took a look at over here. All right. So it's created that timeline. And that's where we go. But now, what if you want to, you don't want to bring in that whole footage, you don't want to bring in the whole clip, and you just want to bring in a little bit at a time. So you can delete that clip, or you can actually just also do file, new timeline, and create a timeline that way. And when you do it this way, you can create and name that timeline. Let's just call this timeline 1, just to be